Hello, you beautiful people. Why can't I hear myself? Okay, here we go. Yeah, I hope you've been doing well. It has been a while. I haven't been feeling well. If you saw my community post, it's been a few weeks. I went to Montreal for whoa,
Yeah,
hold on here. Hope you've been doing well. Yeah, so went to Montreal for the big opening night of the Montreal Canadiens, and I was looking forward to it, and then I got home and I've been sick for 2 weeks. So anyways, trying to get back into it. I've got a whole bunch of videos I want to get to, and I have some new gear that I want to use. I got this new Sony camera that I want to replace this with. So yeah, we're gonna step up the quality on some of these videos, and but for tonight we're doing this, the Osmium Distortion Matrix. They've been teasing this for a while. I actually thought what it would be an 1176 clone and one of those FET compressors, and I was like, do we really need another one? Like, there were so many of them, because they said in one of their emails, file it under element 76, which actually I still don't know what. I think there is some FET compressor related stuff in here, like the compressor might be, but I don't know. Anyways, yeah, so I'm not sure why they called it element 76. We'll have to figure that out. If you guys know, let me know. And I actually had a chance to give this a little try this afternoon, and it's fantastic. I actually really do like this. So let's start with what this is. They call it, first of all, let's get this out of the way. This name, the Osmium Distortion Matrix, I don't like the name. And there's something about it. First of all, just the osmium, I can't get used to it. Like, there's a place near here called Osmos, which is, or Osno or whatever, I don't know, it's a food place for shawarmas and stuff, and I don't know, for some reason that the name just doesn't connect, and I keep thinking it's Osmos related or whatever. So it took me all afternoon. Sorry about that. It took me all afternoon to figure out this osmium. Like, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the name. And so you've got the name, and then the distortion matrix, I don't feel is a good description of it, but it does a whole lot more. And we're going to look at that. But I do like this device quite a bit. So I'm still on Reason Plus, like on a trial for 2 months, which actually ends in a few days. So I was sort of happy to get in there before this is done. So let's look real quickly. Like, first of all, that's something that if anybody from Reason is watching this, please consider doing a trial on these new devices when they come out, because I know you could get a trial of Reason Plus and whatever, but some people may not that may not be available to them or whatever. But yeah, I feel like these devices, if people could get a week out of them or a couple weeks out of them or a month, whatever, but if you could get a good week out of it and figure out if it's something that makes sense, because I've been noticing when new devices come out, if you don't have access to them, because I generally don't have Reason Plus. Like I said, I did a trial for a couple months for like $1 a month or whatever, but in normal times I wouldn't have access to this. So and every time you try to figure out, is it something that'll be useful? And the thing is that I noticed is, by the time you do get access to it, whether you do a trial of that or you look at buying it down the road, like the hype is done. Like, it's almost like when something comes out, you'd want to be able to really give it a try. And like, I've noticed that with a few devices that I never tried them, and now I do have access to them, and I'm like, well, I don't know if I'll bother. So I think it would be useful if we could try these out for a little bit when they come out. So Anyways, there are a couple ways to get this, by the way. $49 if you want to buy it. There is, like I mentioned, if you do Reason Plus, I'm not big on subscriptions, but that it is available through there. But also, there's something here that a lot of people don't know about, and I mention it often, but there's always people who don't know, is you have loyalty points with Reason Studios. And I'm just going to go here. If you go into the store, it's at reasonstudios.com/shop/rewards. It's going to show you these devices that you can get. Like, this is basically devices you can get through your rewards points. It's also, the same devices you could go out and buy. Canadian funds here, so you just remove a little bit if you're in US funds or adjusted for whatever your currency is. One thing that is interesting about this is, so if you go to this page and you see these, this is on sale, like the Osmium Distortion Matrix. I don't know. I'm hoping I'll get used to this name. But if you go here, visit your Reason Studios rewards page, you'll actually see how many points you have. And if you've had a Reason for a while and you've never gone in here, the amount could be pretty high. Like, you could have a few $100. So it's worth doing that. You see how many points you have. Like in my case, it's 75. Again, it's adjusted for your own currency. So I have $75 there, and this one is $68. So I could get with that voucher and just get this, and it wouldn't cost me a penny. The only thing is you sort of forfeit the rest of it if you're not using your whole amount. But anyways, it's worth doing that. One thing, make sure you read these. Where is it here? These things here, because once you redeem the voucher, you only have 60 days. Like, your actual points don't expire. Like, if you don't want to use them now, don't use them. Wait till the next device comes out, whatever. But if you do end up getting the voucher to get this, you have to use it pretty well right away. So, but anyways, a lot of people don't know about that. You might be able to get this for free if you have enough points and if it's something that you're interested in. Okay, let's go back to this. Or no, actually, this isn't where we're going. Okay, in here. So I have a long list of stuff. I want to make sure I don't miss anything, so I may have to come back. So one thing I do like about this plugin. So what I did today is I put a vocal. Okay, so I have a vocal sample from one of my tracks called The Shuffle It Goes Like This. And the sample is just basically me saying The Shuffle It Goes Like This.
Shuffle it goes like this.
So we're going to use that and run it through it. I also have this here that is just a synth sound from Complex. We can see it here. Whoa. I tried to make it bigger for a different screen, but anyways, so we're using a Complex patch here, and I don't think I made any changes to it. So I think it's just the preset here, and we've got Osmium, and I'm going to show you something about this Neptune or whichever device. I'll show you how to bring all of those in a minute, and then this here I think is just it's just a grand piano playing a quick melody. Okay, so, and I also have, I'm going to show you how to, if you don't know how to install these devices, if you just installed Reason and you've never had to install an external one, you load up Reason Companion and you can do it in there. It takes just a few seconds. And so this is just the initial patch for monotone. And then, so we go to effects here. It's actually pretty easy to find in this list because you can tell it's a little bit bigger than some of the other devices. So there's a few, like this, the vocoder is huge, and then a few larger ones here. But anyways, it's this one here, very colorful. Looks a little Christmassy with the red and green and yellow. And so this is just, like I said, the basic patch. And then if we throw this here, you can tell how much, like how different it is just already. And we're going to go through what makes this different from other distortion units and whatever. I don't even consider this a distortion unit. I mentioned that earlier. I consider this I don't know. It's in my head. It's almost like if you use IK Multimedia Mixbox, which they've discontinued, unfortunately. But I feel like, anyways, yeah, it does a lot more than just distortion stuff. So, and I noticed people saying that they're going to be able to get rid of a bunch of other devices, like on a track, and use this. And at first, like before trying it, I was like, yeah, would that really happen? And then I'm realizing now that, yeah, definitely. And it does a few things really interesting. Okay, so if we just go, we'll just go back. I guess we could just initialize this and reset. Oops, that's not what I want. Reset device. So let's go back here. We're going to reset the device here. So basically this is how it works. It does multiband, and if you don't know what multiband is, it lets you process your low end and your high end and the mid-range separately. So like one way you'd want to use it maybe would be like if you had a track, you wanted to do a bunch of stuff on, like you'd want to run some effects on it, but you don't want it affecting like your kick drum and your sub bass because it would get too mangled. So you can get it to affect, you can get different devices to affect different parts of it, but you don't have to use it in multiband mode. Like this will let you turn them on and off, the low and the high, but at the base it loads what's in yellow here is basically everything if you don't have anything else loaded up. So a lot of people use multiband for compressors, like multiband compressors. And if you know OTT, that was basically an Ableton preset in the multiband compressor device. And then Steve Duda ended up doing an actual plugin of it if you're not using Ableton. So yeah, you can look that up. It's free and it's really useful. But anyways, you can do a lot more than compression with it, but it's a way that it's used a lot of the time. But this lets you decide if you want to do multiband or not, but it also lets you, okay, I'm going to try to figure out how I can explain this easily before we have it in front of us. But you can basically you can mix multiband and just like regular stuff together. We'll look at that in a minute. So basically, if we look at this plugin itself, you've got your presets. And one thing I do want to mention here, look at all these presets. Like I was noticing, I was loading up a bunch of different presets at random, and then I realized I was going pretty far down the list and I was only up to B's. And I'm like, how many presets are there? But anyways, so we're just up to F here. So yeah, there are a lot of presets in here. So that's really nice to get started. And the thing is, this device does so many different things that a lot of these presets are way different one from another. So you're able to really like get some really good starting points, all kinds of different good starting points. So yeah, so if we go, you can already tell, like if we remove this, like I said, this is just the init patch. Like I didn't do anything at all, but you can tell like it's actually doing a lot to it, and this is just one of the presets without doing anything. And you can tell this is what I was saying here. So here is just dealing with everything in one, or you can deal with the bass. So they're adding saturation here on the bass, and they're adding a filter and a resonator and the wave folder on the, well, basically everything else, the mids and the highs. So everything above 80 would become here. And then if you wanted to do the high, you know, the high frequencies completely separately, you could have different stuff here. But yeah, so you don't need to use all three. And this is, like I was saying earlier, like this is a very useful way to use this, and a very popular way to use it is because a lot of the time your low end will be processed completely differently than everything else. So one thing here, you can tell like there's only these two. This one's not lit up. You can solo. So this is just the low end here. So if we go to the saturation here, if we want to add even more drive and maybe bring the level up a little bit, And then when we go back here, you can tell it's got a little bit more depth to it. So, so this is a really interesting thing. But one thing I did notice here is, I don't know if we should try it on this one. Actually, you know what? Let's go look at some of these presets just so you can get an idea of what this can sound like. And then I'll show you how to customize the sounds that come out of it. So this here is going to be that vocal sample. Now this is a completely processed vocal sample. I just went into the track and dropped it in there. We could probably do more with a non-processed, like if I was to throw it before some of the processing, but this just give you an idea of what this can sound like. So we're going to do this, and we're going to take this out of bypass. And I haven't tried this, any of it. I just always like trying this on vocals, because I feel like if you try it on instruments, like you can get a, you can get a different, an idea of the sound. But I know, like, I don't know, there's something about vocals when you're using distortion units and stuff like that, where I feel that you can, it helps you really hear more of the range of what it can do. So, okay, so, oh yeah, that's one thing here. You have to be careful with this. I actually threw a limiter on the main channel, because one of the things that I did notice, especially, either between presets and when you're switching stuff out, there's huge variations in the audio levels. So you want to be careful. Just watch your ears, watch your speakers. But yeah, there's, you'll get some surprises. So, and then this here. You know what, I'm gonna have to shorten this sample, so let's just do this so it runs on a, so we're just gonna loop this so it keeps going. And okay. So we're just going to try a few of these presets and see. You can tell how different it is between one and the other. Very muffled. And of course, this isn't made specifically to be on vocals, so some of these will sound way off, but I do like the sound of that. It sort of brings things up. I think I was playing around with this preset. Yeah, Bass of Doom. This one is an interesting preset, and then if you're listening to this and you're thinking, okay, it's processing all of these, like in this case, it's doing basically parallel. It's got 3 chains going, so you can tell it's not using these multibands here. It's actually, you can tell where it's sort of splitting into 3, and then you've got your 3 chains, and then here you've got your levels for the 3 chains, which is a very interesting way to do it. But it also will let you take some of these. Wait, what have I done? And okay, hold on. Let's go back here. It'll let you take some of these, and you can route them differently. Like you can even get them routed back. It's weird. I was trying this earlier, and it seemed to be working. Is it going to work better in Reason? Let's just see here. No, of course. Okay, I'm not sure what I'm doing here, but yeah, this was working earlier, where you can take these and move them over to something else, and you can actually merge them back in at the end. So yeah, we'll look at that afterwards. I'm not sure what I'm missing here, but so okay, let's check a few of these presets on this, and then we'll switch the sample out to the guitar. Or hey, this world needs a hero. Nice to see you. Yeah, it's a really interesting plugin, like our device. Keep calling it a plugin, but Do you have Reason in slave mode? I basically, yeah, I have it as a rack in Ableton Live, but I also have Reason running here in the background if we do need it. But yeah, here I'm just using it as a rack. But this works it works exactly the same way in like as a rack unit as it would in the software. So it looks exactly the same. So yeah, these are the sounds. Yeah, the Reason rack, exactly. Ooh, I do like this. Like, this isn't too extreme. Okay, this is a sample on its own. Wow, I find this adds... It just builds it up. And so you've got these devices here. And you've got... So you can add for... With the multiband, you can use them anywhere. So you can use them in the low, the high, or the mids, or on everything. And you can also, like, let's say you like the saturate. Oh, actually, see, they did do the saturation on everything here. But let's say here you want, I don't know, an effect on whatever the signal coming in. Let's see. I don't want to go anything too extreme, but try the pitch shifter. It might sound weird, but let's we're gonna pitch, so whichever the audio that's coming into it. So basically the way it'll work is it starts here, and this is the input effect that affects everything. Then it comes here, and you're splitting it up however you want to split it up, and it goes back, you know, over here, and you can mix it the way you want. Then it sort of goes back up here, which is, well, actually, no, then it'll go back up here, which is your output effect. So if you want a compressor on the whole thing, or saturation in this case on the whole thing, and then it'll go out to this, the master level here, and the wet and dry if you don't, you know, if you want to do sort of parallel compression or that type of thing. So so you can run the Reason rack simultaneously with Reason in slave mode. Like, basically what you're doing in this case is you're using it as the Reason. You're basically using it as a plugin. So if you're in Ableton Live, and you can close this one up for a second here. But yeah, so the same way that you would go in here and you would have whichever plugins you want, like your, I don't know, Waves plugins, or what is it? So Sig, they call it, sausage fattener, and kilohertz plugin, whatever you want to use. And you basically take Reason and you run Reason. So it's not like, it's not really a, like that type of mode. Like, what was it called before, where you could run Reason and then, oh man, what was it called? You could run Reason and then it would be like rewired, something like that. Yeah, you can't rewire it, so you're not using one DAW in the other plugin or in the other DAW, but you're actually using the rack, so you have access to all of the stuff from the Reason rack. They added that in a few. Yeah, Rewire, that's the one. So it's not like Rewire. You're actually using this as a plugin in Ableton or in whichever DAW you use. So it's actually a really interesting way, because you basically have in one spot, you have all of these devices and you have all of these instruments and all of the utilities, all the players. So you can throw, like, you can basically build Reason type stuff in here, right in whichever DAW you work more quickly. That's what happens with me. Like, I use both of them, but I find that I work a lot more quickly in Ableton. So, excuse me. So I like using it this way. So I'm able to work quickly, but I still have access to all of this stuff, like the baseline generator or whichever device I want to use. And some of these original devices from Reason, like after all these years, are still my favorite. Like even this sound here, I ended up loading up a grand piano, and for some reason I still, after all these years, and I've been using this since I don't know, I did a live stream at one point where I was opening up old tracks. I think it might be 2003, and it's still my go-to grand piano is the one in Reason. But it's nice to be able to use some of these original sounds. I mean, they've got so many devices now, but yeah. So let's actually look at a different one too. RV7, yeah. Actually, you know which one I love is the, what's the oh yeah, the RV7. I like that RV7000, that film score preset. I haven't been able to find anything anywhere that's like equivalent to that. Like there's something about that preset that I've loved since the first time I loaded it. And yeah, there's some of those original ones are pretty awesome. So yeah, see, I keep loading up Reason in the background, but actually, you know what? I'm going to close this because I probably won't need it. And okay, so just a very basic piano. There's a couple notes in there I'd like to fix, but the point of it is we're going to throw this and see what we can do with it. The first thing I would think of doing with it. So many people love film score. Oh yeah, I haven't heard a lot of people mention it, so I'm glad to know I'm not alone. And then so if we go, even if we reset this device, and I'll show you how to get it going from scratch. So if we reset here, and this is on, but it's not doing anything, right? So over here, we will go to Bit Crush, and this will give us a good example of what it can do. I actually really like the sound of this Bit Crusher. And that's one thing I do like about this is for people who are newer producers, like people who are advanced can get so much use out of this. You know, the modulators down here, like there's so much you can do. But even for people who are new to it, I think this is going to be really useful because they're sort of, all of these devices are all simplified devices. Like if we go to saturation, it's got the drive and it's got the type and then the level. That's it. Like it doesn't have 50 different things, and like people get sort of overwhelmed when they're learning about it. And a lot of the time this is all you need. But okay, let's do the Bit Crush. And you can tell this is way off, and this is just this is just the initial preset. So if we bring this down, it'll be even more crushed. You've got the Bit Crush, High Crush, and Sine. But okay, so there's something interesting here. So if we do this, let's just bring the mix down a little bit so it's just crushing it a little bit. Just making it sound like we're using cheap samples or something. But and then over here, let's add something noticeable. Like we'll add a delay here. And then, like I mentioned earlier, because these aren't on, we're not actually using the multiband part of it right now. We're using everything. Like this is controlling everything. So if we go here, and yeah, so this is controlling everything. If we wanted the delay just on, I don't know why we want to do this, but let's turn this off, and then we'll just have a delay way on the highs. So here, and we'll go to 2.5K. So you can tell that delay, especially, we can solo it here. So it's really just affecting that high end, right? But the interesting thing is, and that's why I wasn't able to get it to do this earlier. Oh, there we go. So let's say we're adding delays just on the high end. We're doing the Bit Crush on the mids. And see, this is the part that annoys me. And I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong on here. When I click here somewhere, and this didn't happen to me at all earlier when I was using this. So if you guys know what I'm doing wrong, let me know. This is weird because there's a way to take these and then bring them together. There we go. Okay. We're back up. So, okay. So this one, we're actually, just to simplify this, we may throw the Bit Crush on the low end. Okay, this is what we're going to do. So we're going to take this out, turn this one on, and, oh yeah, we got to turn on the multiband here. And yeah, so we've got the bit crush. We're not using these two. But if you notice here, what's happening here is we're bit crushing the low end. So let's just see what that sounds like. We're going to go a little bit more extreme so you can tell what these extremes are. And we're going to do the same thing with the delay. Okay, so we're crushing the low end and we are throwing delay on the high end. And then what we're doing here is we're mixing these two together. So if we go here and then we'll add, trying to find something. Here we go. Maybe if we do a filter, we might be able to. So this is affecting everything. So the thing is it's this routing, and I've never seen that in any of these types of devices. Like you've got multiband that you can turn on and off. That's completely normal. Turn on or like part of it or turn off part of it. I've seen that a bunch of times. But this one where you're like, these are basically blocks that you're able to, it's almost like when you're using some programming stuff where you want to do some programming, but like visual type programming. Yeah, it's a really interesting way to do it. And then you've got the filter. So what you're noticing here is this one is still going through, like it's still continuing. You can turn this off. These here, there's a way to, I think we double click on the input or something, or anyways, there's a way to have this not continue. But in this case, we don't even need this one here. So we can just solo the blue. So it'll ignore, like we don't have anything on here. So it's not really doing anything on these two. But so yeah, so you're doing the multiband stuff and then you're merging it all together, which is, sorry about that, which is a really interesting way to do it. And I haven't tried this, but I'm assuming there's a way to get these back. Like you could have this convoluted thing where, yeah, so in this case, the filter would go into these and then you could have this being, I don't know, transient shaper, let's say, just to shape. And which is really interesting too, that there's a transient shaper built in, because that's a plugin that I use a lot, and it'll be nice to be able to do some of that stuff right in here. So you can have this sort of convoluted mess almost in this case, but you can have it do a whole bunch of stuff, and you can split sounds and then bring them back in, and then over here you can mix whatever you're using with these things. So you can sort of, and these lights here you'll notice are based on the bottom one from each row. So it turns blue when you're mixing them together. But yeah, so like just to be able to do that, or another way to use this is if we take off this multiband stuff here. And if you're sitting there, is there a way to, oh, okay, let's skip this back. And if you feel that these three are not enough, you can actually go here and you can basically have this sort of chain going through. There we go. And then, so you can have or actually, I guess we wouldn't want to do it from this one down here, but you could have these three going and then have this last one here chained back to this first one. And then have this chain here, and then have these here, this one here, back to this one here. So in theory, you can have 9 different things going on the whole thing if you want, or just on the low end, or just you can adjust it whichever way you want. But you can have these 9 going, plus you've got this input effect that's affecting the full signal coming in, and you've got the output effect going out. So you could technically have 11 of these little devices going at once, which is a very interesting way to do stuff. And like I said, I haven't seen this in other stuff. So okay, let's listen to some of these presets and how different, like try to notice how different these are one from the other. And again, I apologize for my voice. I've been not feeling well for a couple of weeks, trying to get back into it. But It's been rough. And I noticed the saturation sounds really nice. I've heard this on a bunch of different presets, and I've tried it on a bunch of different things, and there's something nice to the sound of it. You're not noticing a big difference with the changes I'm making here because if we go back to it, it's got, you know, 2 different saturations. So I was really just affecting the low end, but I just noticed something here, which is really interesting. If you look here at the device, so if we go to saturation here, you can tell the on button is red. And if we're using this one here, it's yellow. So it's sort of interesting that, like, if you're, especially if you load a preset, hold on. This one here, well, actually, no, this one is not a good example. We'll go to something that's used. Okay, so this one's got all 3. And this one here, you might, a lot of the time you'll load a preset, you'll just start changing stuff. And so here we'll be changing, adding some attack, make it a little bit stronger. This should make it smoother. Actually, hold on. Let's just solo this. It should, we should be here. More than that. Oh, it's very, very high, maybe. Okay, so anyways, yeah, so if we press this button here, or if we just look at the button, we can tell, okay, whichever changes we're making here are gonna affect the high end. So, especially in this case, like the transient shaper on the high end won't do a whole lot on a piano. We want like maybe this range here. So actually, let's do it here. Let's just add the transient shaper here. I think it's under, no, not under effects. Here we go, under dynamics. So if we'll solo this one, and this should make it smoother. And then here, you can tell it's almost like the velocity is a little bit higher, but just by looking at this, we can tell which transient shaper we're dealing with. So without having to load, okay, yeah, so it's just an interesting little thing where, and also that you can turn that on or off from here or from where we were. But yeah, I like that little feature. I hadn't noticed that earlier, so. Okay, we'll just try a few other ones, and then we're gonna go to a different instrument. That is nice. If we could add a little bit more sustain to these notes, and that could sound really nice. So anyways, those are some of the ideas. And again, we're just trying a bunch of presets. We're only up to the C's. Like, there's so many presets on here. But let's try it on, what was the other one I had here? Oh yeah, this was just that synth. Just a very simple synth sound from Complex. And then, okay, this is where I want to show you something else really interesting this can do. So if we turn this, I do not like that sound. You can tell the differences. We're going to play a few of these, and then we're going to go back to, I'll just turn my microphone down a little bit. We're going to go back to the original sound after we've tried a few of these, and you'll notice how different, like this is interesting, like completely different. And again, you don't have to use this as multiband. Like this one is just using these, like it's affecting the whole signal. And you can tell this is an interesting way where it's taking the sound that's coming in. It's not adding anything on the input effects here. It's splitting it into 3, for the saturation pitch shift. It's actually splitting it into 2 really. So it's basically splitting it on one, like in one channel, basically, to saturation and a filter. The other one is doing pitch shift, wave folder, resonator, and then brings them all back into another filter. So it's a very, but like, and then this is the original, like so different. Okay, so one thing this one does, and I guess I could use it on, it doesn't matter which one. So if we go here, actually, no, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to find one here where it's just everything's going the same one. So we've got this sound here. And if we take this resonator and we want to replace this, there's something here called external. So if we go to external 1, what I did here, I think I did this earlier. Yeah. If you take this external 1, the out, and you bring it into any device, you can throw it onto a Ripley delay, you can throw it on whatever, it doesn't matter what you throw it to, or the RV7. And you can send the out to that and then bring the audio out from that device back in to the in for the Osmium. And then we're using this external. So what this external one is doing, if we turn it off, it's just this. But once we do this, it's actually sending it to Neptune, processing it there, and bringing it back. So it's almost like an insert effect, which is a very interesting thing to do. But one thing you can do is take these here, and this, or you can take the format. I use this one. It sounds weird. You wouldn't use this, but it gives you an idea of the extremes you can go to. And this is just going right in the chain. Like you can have this up here before the overdrive. You can do whatever. So it's sort of interesting that you have 3 external devices that you can use. And I really like that. It's an interesting way to do it. And it's really easy to set up. Like I said, if you want to set it up, you just, you just wire it out and then back in, and it deals with it completely separately. So, so I don't know. I find that a very interesting way to do it. I'm assuming it's limited to the 3. Maybe once we hit 3, it adds more, like Serum. I don't know if you use the LFOs in Serum, the more you add, the more it does add, but I don't think so. I think it's probably just the 3. We could deal with that. That's good enough. So, so yeah, it can do so much, this thing. Again, we can take this and maybe send one of these to Neptune, maybe something a little earlier on in the chain. So if we go here, even just using this with your with the mod wheel for the pitch bend, and it's an interesting way to actually get pitch bend built into this Osmium, which doesn't have pitch bend built in. And then this here also is has some interesting stuff. Okay, we're just gonna take just bypass this, but so you can use the LFOs to modulate any of these. So if we want to take, well, actually, here, let's do that as an example here. So external 1, if we take this LFO and we want to send it to, I haven't done this before, but we should be able to, external 1, and, for some reason, it doesn't give us the option to adjust the range, like the scroll wheel. So for some reason, I'm not sure why these are blanked out, but technically we should be able to adjust these. Like there may be, maybe we have to, we may have to adjust some of the CV stuff. I don't know, but anyways, there's a lot of stuff you can do with this, with the LFO. If we want to have it even just adjust the master level here, and just to have a good idea, let's go to a square wave. The only thing I don't like about this is when you get to the top, you can't, like, it doesn't scroll back to the beginning. Like I get to the top and like, this is the first one, but if we hit the up arrow, it won't do any more. So we actually have to go down. It'd be nice if it just looped and went back to the other end. But So if we do this, we don't put the full percentage, and then we adjust the rate. And we can sync it to our the BPM in the DAW. So we're getting somewhere here. Like, I have to adjust to get rid of that click, but this is what the original sound was. Like, it's so different, right? And then, of course, we can play with these patterns here. We could have this instead of the master level, maybe have it affect something on a filter or something. But yeah, you can do some interesting stuff. So I do like this, you know, the possibilities down here. And then you've got your two LFOs you can deal with in here. You've got a curve, which this is adjustable. So it's sort of like the LFO you had, but you can do a little bit more with it. The envelope follows, so it will do stuff based on the audio level that's of the sound that's coming through it. And yeah, and then CV if you want to play around with that stuff. So anyways, this can do a whole lot of interesting stuff. Like I said, these sounds are just so different one from another. Like, you can, I could see myself sitting there for hours and, you know, not running out of ideas for sure. So, and this is just the presets. Like, once you start playing around with the stuff, you start to make your adjustments. There's a lot you can do. And the overdrive is pretty extreme. And that's the thing too. Like, that's what I was thinking is, for people who are new to Reason, you've got saturation, which will, it doesn't distort the sound. A lot of people will say, like, it adds warmth to stuff. Like, it will adjust the sound coming in. Like, hold on, they actually explain it really well over here. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. If you go into the manual, they've updated it already, and there's tons of information here about all this stuff. So, and it's explained really well. So, they do talk about the different devices. They even talk about, okay, we'll look at this in a second, because yeah, they do talk about, so see, they'll mention the saturation and what it actually does to the waveform, but somebody who's new to it will, like, a lot of saturators, there's so many different effects and stuff, but they'll be able to sort of understand the difference between the saturation, and then if they go to the overdrive, which is a more extreme version of saturation in a way, they do explain it really well here. But it's interesting for people who are new to these things to sort of understand how a lot of these types of devices and types of plugins work. So yeah, because there just aren't too many options to get overwhelmed with. So and that's one of the things here that I noticed, like, some of this documentation is fantastic. Like, if we go here to, yeah, this one here, the cabinet module. So if we choose this here, I'm gonna find, there we go. Here's the cabinet here. And you can change these different cabinets, right? And first of all, there's the visual of what, like, it's trying to emulate, which I find really interesting. But also in here, they actually give you a list of what each one is and, like, the exact description of it. So the bass mini fridge deep is a 4x12 inch bass cab closed. And so a lot of the time with bass, closed is like, it's back. It's like headphones where you've got open back and closed back and semi-open, whatever. So the closed will have it closed at the back, so it's just sending more. Yeah, it's just sending more out. And so a lot of the time for bass, that's what you'll want. Whereas if you're using, like, a guitar and stuff, you might want to have stuff that's a little bit more open, and you've got more of the room feel to it. And they do explain. No, they don't, I think, explain, but I just did. But yeah, so they tell you what each of these like what each one is, like a better description of what each one of these is. So, so I found that really, really nice. Like there's a lot of documentation in here. If we go up and down, like there's each device in there is, has the documentation and just everything with the workflow and stuff in there. So, it's really worth spending a bit of time reading this and trying to understand what's going on in here, because it'll help you make some more interesting sounds, and it can actually do a whole lot. That's why I don't feel like this should be called a distortion device, because I do not consider it, even though like most distortion devices will do a little bit more, but yeah, this is, it does a whole lot more than that. But yeah, so basically that is the Osmium. I'm never going to get used to this name, I think. The Osmium Distortion Matrix. A very interesting little device. And yeah, so if you guys use it, let me know how you're using it and what you're noticing it, that it sounds really, really good on. I've noticed that like by going through everything I put through it, I was able to make it sound interesting somehow eventually. So I think you can do a whole lot with it. So anyways, okay. So another live stream down, and I'm feeling better bit by bit. So I'll be able to get back into the swing of things and doing a bunch of these. I have a bunch of videos that I do want to work on. That list is getting longer and longer, so I have to get that list down and hopefully be able to use this new camera. So anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next live stream or the next video. Okay, see you soon.